Fairgrounds, Pomona, California, where the NHRA has been running the Winternationals for 26 years. Hi, I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans, and earlier we had an incredible moment in first round qualifying for Top Fuel when two of the greatest names in the sport came together.
That's right, Brock. Shirley Muldowney back in NHRA major competition for the first time since her terrible crash in Montreal, Canada in the summer of 1984. A brand new pink car, and who should she face in round number one but Don Garlits, the defending world champion from Sefner, Florida. And these two, of course, have had an ongoing rivalry for many, many years.
Absolutely. Sort of a love-hate relationship, really, between these two. They've raced, butted heads, been rivals on and off the track. But, of course, Garlits, one of the most concerned of all when she was hurt. But now it's strictly competition as these two faced off in round one.
And no one arrived late to the fairgrounds this morning knowing that this confrontation would occur in round number one. Before they strapped into these cars, Brock talked to Don Garlits.
Does this add any extra pressure? I know you've had pressure on you all your life. Is there any kind of extra moment here that wouldn't otherwise come in a Winternationals first round?
Well, of course, you know, because she has run so good, and then, of course, prior to that, you know, in the press, she has stated that, you know, she's the only one that's any competition for me, and it's like I won the world championships, like, because she wasn't out there, and you know, and then she came in and has qualified under me. It's like she's backing up what she says. So if she knocks me out in this first round, it'll almost be like just granting her the world championship for 1985. What can you say, right?
Well, I can say that you're not going to let that happen if humanly possible.
Well, if humanly possible, I'm hoping not to let any stones go unturned here on this thing. But as you know, as goes all the way of drag racing, anything can happen, and usually does.
Well, the best of luck, Don.
Thank you, Ron.
And now, let's go to my pal Steve Evans with the other half of this classic confrontation.
Well, Brock, as you know, this past week in Southern California, you couldn't pick up a newspaper or turn on the television set without seeing this very famous pink car. And Shirley Muldowney, from that very first run in qualifying, did not disappoint her many fans. 5:47, the ride of her life, the quickest she'd ever run. It was low ET at the time. Only Dick LaHaye ran just a little bit quicker. But Shirley, it almost seemed destined that you would race Big Daddy Don Garlits in round one.
That's ironic. It's two good cars right at the start, so I don't mind racing Big Daddy, and I don't think he minds racing me.
You wouldn't prefer another draw?
No, the way we look at it is we try to get rid of the good ones and then go on from there, but it's going to be an awfully good race.
You had a few engine problems in qualifying.
Well, it got out there and it kind of misbehaved coming into the lights. It ran out of gear, so we made a change, and we knew that it did hurt the elapsed time, and not that we're bragging, but it did. I'm not going to say it could have picked up a 10th, but it would have been better than a 47.
Go get him.
That's what we're here for. Thanks, Steve.
So this is the way it played out. Remember now, Shirley Muldowney, this is her first major national race since her bad crash almost 18 months ago, which was followed by an epic story of rehabilitation.
These are the hands of Garlits crew chief Herb Parks, adjusting the low-end idle circuit on the engine. It may be the first big race for Shirley's new car. It's the last event for this black car that carried Don Garlits to a world championship a year ago. It will reside in his museum in Florida following this event. The tension, Brock, just incredible as these two stage.
Absolutely. As we said earlier, no real love lost between them. There's green light. Garlits is off first.
Garlits was away first. Shirley Muldowney loses traction, half track, and suddenly the blower exploded. Don Garlits took the win lights at 5.59 seconds, 264 miles an hour. The lady smoked the tires but wasn't about to give up.
She sure wasn't. As you can see here, Garlits left just a wink earlier, but Muldowney stays in it all the way. Tires boiling all the way down to quarter mile. Garlits' reaction time was almost 0.04 of a second better than Shirley's, but she stayed with him almost all the way until the Pomona Fairgrounds rattled with an explosion from her blower. That, of course, took her out of competition, ended her opportunity for a comeback here at Pomona. Steve was with her at the end.
Well, the disappointment for Shirley Muldowney in failing to defeat Don Garlits is compounded by a very expensive engine explosion. First of all, I know your ears are ringing, but are you okay other than that?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just wonder where the blower went, that's all.
It's in a million pieces, unfortunately, all over the racetrack. It looked to be a good wheel-to-wheel race until the engine exploded.
Well, he was out on me. Not much. I didn't see any daylight, that's for sure. I used the lean-out button, and I thought that might pick it up, and he was out there.
Well, I have a feeling that this setback here will be overcome very quickly.
Oh, yeah, you learn by your mistakes, and we'll definitely learn why it happened and try not to have it happen again. But what can you do, Steve? That's welcome to drag racing.
We'll see you at Gainesville, I'm sure.
Sure will. Thanks.
So the three-time world champion was out after a classic confrontation with a very determined Don Garlits.
Well, Don, a 5:59, it looked like you let it wire to wire.
I got off a little bit ahead of her, and I guess it just held on to it. We shook real bad.
She had a violent blower explosion. You probably heard.
No, I didn't hear that. Where was it? Down toward the end?
Yes, sir.
No, I didn't hear that.
The pressure of racing Shirley is off now. What do you think about the rest of this event?
Well, we got to try to win this race. Do our best.
He's got a good shot at it.
Well, that confrontation was, I'm sure, all you expected and more. But we'll be seeing more with Shirley Muldowney later in the show. I'll tell you what, though, Steve, Top Fuel, far from over.
Oh, Brock, we knew that Top Fuel was going to be special at the Winternationals yesterday when Joe Amato set a new world speed record at 269 miles an hour, and we have seen more drivers in the 5:40 elapsed time area than we ever have at any drag race. Young Darrell Gwynn there with a 5:40, Gary Beckett at 41, Connie Coletta at a 43, and of course Joe Amato, former world champion and new speed record holder, also in the 40s. Top Fuel is really a war, with or without the lady.
Let's not forget Funny Car. Not only do we have the world champion Kenny Bernstein continuing to dominate, running like a freight train as consistently as ever, but now John Force, Tim Gross, and Dale Pulley also in the hunt.
And Bernstein seems more worried about John Forrest than any of those cars that you just mentioned, Brock. And in pro stock, how about Warren Johnson, huh? He eliminated Bob Glidden in round number 1 at low ET at 7.53 seconds. Last year, only Glidden could run in the 750s here at Pomona. 7 drivers in the first round in the 750s in pro stock.
So, round 2 of Top Fuel about to begin with the Chief Auto Parts Winternationals here at Pomona, California.
And already strapped in, hoping to win his first big one today, is Darrell.
Yeah, which actually borders the racetrack, which is in Pomona, about 30 miles to the east of downtown Los Angeles, and a site of drag racing for years and years, Steve.
And Brock, it's time for Top Fuel competition, round number 2 in the NHRA Chief Auto Parts Winternationals. Darrell Gwynn, Miami, Florida, a former alcohol dragster world champion, still looking for his first win in Top Fuel. How tough is it converting from alcohol to nitro? Well, in his first season of racing, Brock, Gwynn grew an ulcer at 24.
Hard to believe for such a low-key guy, a guy that runs with his dad, Jerry, also a former drag racer, a family operation.
And they are up against here in round 2, Frank Bradley of Napa, California. A former touring pro, Frank has backed off on his schedule plans only to run on the West Coast this season. Now, Darrell Gwynn, in round number 1 earlier today, served notice he could win the whole thing. He ran a 5.406, missing low ET by 6/1,000ths of a second. He now faces this man, who for obvious reasons is nicknamed the Beard, Frank Bradley of Napa, California. Darrell Gwynn, as we said, still looking for his first big win. Don Garlits has been his nemesis, has beaten the young man 3 times last season.
And yet they remain close. Gwynn sort of the protege, as it were, unofficially of Don Garlits, probably because he raced against his dad, Jerry, over the years, and now both from Florida, the 2 most prominent teams, the oldest and the youngest on the trail.
Here we get a good look at Frank Bradley's car, about 1,800 pounds. No one's sure how much horsepower. We guess around 3,000. They move up now for the very delicate staging process. Darrell Gwynn, a brand new car, yet to be painted, finished number 6 in the world last year.
And a very determined young man, a man who has listened, watched the old pros in this business, and has come on very quickly. In fact, he went to the finals at the U.S. Nationals before losing to Garlits.
Starter Buster Count sends them on their way. It is Bradley off the mark first. Bradley with the lead at half track. Gwynn pulls even. It is Gwynn by about half a car length. And for the 3rd consecutive run, counting qualifying, he's in the 540s. A 549 and 258.
Beautiful, consistent drive. You can see him clapping his hands there as he rolls to a stop. Here we go again. Gwynn versus Bradley. Gwynn in the left-hand side of your screen. As you said earlier, Steve, it looks like Bradley had a little bit of an edge on the start, but it was all kinds of power by Darrell Gwynn at half track that drove him onto that victory. Steve is with him.
Well, Darrell Gwynn out of the cockpit, another 540, this time a 49, Darrell.
Well, I think the string of 40s will win the race. It did shake a little bit on that pass, but I'd like to thank everybody that's involved with this hot rod. We just need to keep it consistent, and I think we'll be there.
Do you think you can get in the 530s, maybe become the world's quickest drag racer at 24 years of age?
Well, I got to thinking about that last round. That didn't even run through my mind when I rolled in this gate, but I'd like to win the race and run 530.
You might just do that.
So the young man rolls toward the semifinals here at Pomona with a very convincing victory. One of the most familiar cars in the business, a man who has been around almost as long as Big Daddy Don Garlits. That is Connie Coletta rolling into the water box.
And he will face the only man who has ever run in the 530s, and that, of course, is Gary Beck, the two-time world champion. Beck will be in the near lane. And Beck also won the last race held here at Pomona, the World Finals last fall. And his opponent, Connie Coletta, coming off of his best season ever, 2 national event victories last year. Now, Gary Beck, the record holder at 5:39. In fact, he has run that elapsed time twice. He, in the first round, came up with a near record time of 5.41 when he defeated Dick LaHaye. LaHaye was the #1 qualifier, but watch the left-hand side of your screen. LaHaye is running an experimental clutch in that car, and this time it hooked up a bit too hard. Watch the car in the near lane. A moonshot for Dick LaHaye. Gary Beck takes advantage and advances into round 2.
And from Ypsilanti, Michigan, the veteran Connie Coletta, now running a very prosperous charter flying service as he uses some of his spare time to run the big top fuel cars.
Gary Beck ran quicker in round number 1 than did Connie Coletta, so he has lane choice, has elected to take the near side. So far, there doesn't seem to be any imbalance between the lanes, but traditionally the racers favor the near lane here at the fairgrounds in Pomona. Coletta in the far lane, Beck in the near lane as they inch forward into the electronic staging mains. When those wheels move, the clocks will start. It is Coletta away first. Connie Coletta away. Gary Beck trying to catch him, but he will not do it. Tire smoke eliminates Beck, and Connie Coletta goes to the semifinal round with a 5:52, 253 miles an hour.
Well, here is an example of the enormous power that these automobiles generate. You can see Coletta off a little bit earlier. Beck just stands on the throttle, and the tires go up in smoke. He loses traction and drops out.
Well, when Gary Beck smoked the tires, there was no question who was going to win that one, a 5:52.
It dropped off a little bit. I wonder why. We'll figure it out, I guess.
You know, as cold as it is, and it's getting colder, I wonder how much that racetrack's going to take.
I don't know. Usually if the racetrack ain't going to do it, Steve, it's going to spin the tire just like his did, okay? And this racetrack has been bad when it gets warm, all right? And it's always held it, so I don't know. What kind of speed we run, do you know?
I didn't hear the speed, Connie, but good job into the semifinals.
Okay, thank you.
So the veteran Connie Coletta joins the youngster Darrell Gwynn in the semifinals here at Pomona as this man, Big Daddy Don Garlits, will try also to make that select ranking of 4 at the Chief Auto Parts Winternationals.
That's Gene Snow, the long black car from Fort Worth, Texas. Opposite him will be an even longer, even blacker car of world champion Big Daddy Don Garlits. One of these drivers will go to the semifinal round.
Well, Steve, Garlits was 7/100ths of a second slower ET-wise in the first round, so Snow very much a contender here, and if he does it again, it's bye-bye Big Daddy.
Well, 7/100ths of a second in this sport is a clear-cut victory, and Big Daddy Don Garlits for the first time has an on-board computer. Big Daddy with a computer, that could be big trouble for the competition.
And rumored to be building a Streamliner car in his Ocala, Florida shops. Gene Snow, on the other hand, very much a gentleman racer these days. Used to be a pro, started the funny cars, they say, but now just races for the fun of it.
Well, Gene had his first NHRA national event victory in top fuel last season, winning the Fall Nationals at Phoenix. Garlits in the far lane. Snow is the first to come up from pre-stage. The starter, of course, is Buster Couch, as he has been here at Pomona for 26 seasons.
Okay, the tree goes green, and Snow, a little wheel stand, he gets out of the throttle just like Gary Beck, and Big Daddy goes on to an easy victory. 5:58, though, not too quick in the ET department, Steve.
No, he's going to have to pick that up. A speed of 257 miles an hour. And you're right, Brock. Gene Snow's run looked exactly like Gary Beck's. It carried the front end out. When it settled down, it unloaded the rear tires, and that was it.
Okay, as Big Daddy rolls to a stop up at the other end of the racetrack, that is the former world champion Joe Amato, who in qualifying ran 269 miles an hour. Surely the quickest ever run in a single pass, almost a record. We'll see if he can back that up. as he goes up against Earl Whiting from up in the Pacific Northwest, a not too constant competitor here in the NHRA National Championship Trail. Certainly not a man carrying the credentials that Joe Amato does. So Joe hoping to have a relatively easy run against the underdog Whiting. But in the meantime, Big Daddy is out of his car.
Well, for Don Garlits, it's a semifinal round berth with a 5:58 at 257 miles an hour. But Big Daddy, sooner or later, as we march through this wheel, we're going to run into one of those 540 cars.
Maybe.
You may be one of them before it's over.
Right. Any one of these cars can run that good.
Are you approaching this